Every night, roughly 500,000 people tune in to watch the same 27-year-old guy. In March 2025, on his live show, he summed up his entire worldview in one sentence. He said, Jeffs runs society, black people mostly need to be in prison, and then we will live in paradise. His audience didn't shrink after that sentence, it kept growing. This is the story of who Nick Fuentes actually is, where he came from, what he genuinely believes, and why over the past year he went from total exile to interviews watched by tens of millions of people. My name is Anastasia, I'm a 19-year-old entrepreneur and I run this channel about history and politics. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like. You can also support the channel through the link in the description so content like this comes out more often. Nick Fuentes was born in 1998 and grew up in the suburb of Chicago. He enrolled at Boston University to study political science and international relations, and he was already running his own streaming show while he was still a student there. The point of no return came in August 2017. 18-year-old Fuentes traveled to Charlottesville, Virginia for the infamous Unite the Right rally, which brought white nationalists together from across the country. Less than an hour after one attendee drove a car into a crowd of counter-protesters and killed someone, Fuentes posted on Facebook that a wave of white identity was sweeping the country. The network that carried his show cut ties with him after that rally. By January 2021, he had been permanently banned from most major social platforms for publicly encouraging the rioters who stormed the Capitol. By 2022, journalists were already calling him the most cancelled man in America. That same November, he had dinner with rapper Kanye West and Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and once the dinner became public, Trump quickly distanced himself, claiming he didn't know who Fuentes was. Cut off from the major platforms, Fuentes didn't disappear, he built a parallel media ecosystem instead. His nightly show, America First, now streams mainly on the video platform Rumble, after YouTube and Twitter removed him for violating hate speech rules. Separately from social media, payment processors PayPal, Venmo, and Stripe also cut him off, the ones he used to collect donations from viewers. But nobody's cut me off yet, by the way, so I will genuinely appreciate the support. Every single video on Rumble consistently pulls in more than 500,000 views, and some episodes have reached a full million. In 2024, Elon Musk personally restored his account on X, where he now has more than 1 million followers. His fans are called Groypers, named after a cartoon toy called Groyper, itself a spin-off of the well-known Pepper the Frog meme. Here's the core of it. Fuentes calls himself a Christian nationalist. He believes America historically was and should remain a country with a dominant white Christian culture, and that current immigration policy and the push for diversity are undermining that foundation. He's openly against immigration, against gender equality, and against LGBT rights, framing all of it as a departure from traditional values. The most controversial layer of his rhetoric is anti-Semitism. Fuentes has repeatedly questioned the scale of the Holocaust, at one point comparing its victims to cookies in an oven, and has openly praised Hitler on some of his broadcasts. He regularly promotes the idea that Jewish people secretly control the media, finance, and government. He also pushes a version of the Great Replacement theory, the idea that elites and deliberately bringing in non-European, non-Muslim immigrants to displace the white Christian population of Western countries. Every year he runs his own conference called AFPAC, positioned as an alternative to the mainstream conservative confederation CPAC, which had security remove him back in 2023. For years, Fuentes was locked in an open feud with Turning Point USA, the largest youth conservative organization in America, and personally with its founder, Charlie Kirk. Their supporters called this string of clashes the Groyper Wars, with Groypers showing up at Kirk's public talks specifically to challenge him on the spot for what they saw as not being hardline enough. On September 20, 2025, Charlie Kirk was shot and killed during a public appearance at a university in Utah. Fuentes reached with shock, posting on X that he felt completely gutted and publicly urged his followers not to take up arms. Kirk's assassination is exactly what sent Fuentes' profile skyrocketing. The role of the conservative movement's leading young voice had suddenly opened up, and Fuentes, previously shunned by mainstream media, started landing one high-profile interview after another, including sit-downs with Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan, together pulling in more than 20 million views between weeks. Tucker Carlson released a 2-hour interview with Fuentes without ever pushing back on a single one of his claims. That interview blew the Republican Party apart from the inside. Conservative columnist Rod Dreher warned bluntly that the party has a neo-Nazi problem, estimating that 30 to 40% of Republican staffers in Washington under the age of 30 could now be called gropers. Fuentes sees himself as the only true defender of America First and openly threatens political retaliation against even his supposed allies. He's publicly called Vice President J.D. Vance a corporate stooge and attached him with interracial marriage. Vance fired back briefly and bluntly, suggesting Fuentes go do something unprintable. This past February, in the middle of the US strikes on Iran, Fuentes declared that Trump had betrayed the America First movement and lost his mandate to govern, urging supporters to either stay home on election day or vote for Democrats in the midterms to stop the administration. Here is an important sobering fact. Independent data research from Open Measures found that claims about Fuentes' explosive rise in popularity aren't backed by the actual numbers as cleanly as the headlines suggest. Outlets like the New York Times, the Atlantic, and the Washington Post describes the Groypers as a notable but still minority faction within the conservative movements, not a dominant force. Nick Fuentes shows exactly how extreme politics operates in the streaming era and how a single tragic political moment can pull a marginal figure into the center of a national conversation in a matter of weeks. His own party openly calls him a problem, but still hasn't figured out how to solve it without losing a chunk of its own young audience in the process. What do you think about Nick Fuentes and his views? Let me know in the comments and drop your ideas for what I should cover next.